Guys, Prowl 1701 here. So we have the official announcement that the next collection set is Season 7, the worst kind of kept secret in Doctor Who right now. Now, we'd all known Season 7 was coming for a while, and of course we had the leaked fan art, or not leaked fan art, but the leaked art already. But we do have confirmation. I'm kind of surprised about the lack of a trailer, but I'm wondering if they're just giving us the confirmation early, and then perhaps we'll get a trailer later, like maybe a trailer at the end of War Games or something, because we haven't had a trailer for the announcement since the Season 12 box set. The Season 12 box set didn't have a trailer for the announcement. All of the others have had some kind of trailer. And while I know they're not filming trailers specifically for every announcement, I kind of figured we'd have some kind of trailer at least showing off maybe some of the restoration work. I think that's what a lot of us want to see right now, is at least a trailer so we can kind of see what the restoration for episodes looks like. As we know, there's a lot of restoration work done for this season. I am excited to officially get the announcement. I do hope we get a trailer. Maybe at the end of the War Games, or the color version of the War Games, maybe they'll do a trailer. That would be perfect timing for it. And that's only a few days away. So, of course, we have four stories this season. Spearhead from Space, a four-parter. Doctor Who and the Silurians, The Ambassadors of Death, and Inferno, which are all seven-parters. Let's look at some of the new stuff. I think that's what a lot of us have been looking for with some of the VAM material. We have Splendid Chap, which of course is a profile of beloved actor Nicholas Courtney. Now, a lot of us knew this was coming. They had been filming at conventions for this, so we knew they had some kind of tribute for Nicholas Courtney coming. Looking for Mac, a story about the writer of Malcolm Hulk. I'm actually excited about this. Malcolm's an interesting figure, very, very political man. Chris Chapman's already said it's easily the most political documentary they've done, as it should be. Uncle Max really, really did a lot for these early days of Doctor Who, so I'm really curious to see this story a lot. Terror in the Suburbs, when Doctor Who came down to Earth. I'm curious how that's going to run. Lucky 13, Rockets, Aliens, and Spare Parts, how the science of the day influenced Doctor Who. I think that's going to be a really fun watch as well. We have new episodes of Behind the Sofa, which is always one of my favorite parts of these box sets. I love Behind the Sofa. So we have Katie Manning and Matthew Waterhouse on one sofa. I always love when Katie Manning shows up for these. Katie Manning is such a joy to listen to. I just love Katie Manning. She is just a national treasure in my opinion. And it's going to be interesting to see her judging a season of the Pertwee era that she's not in. This, of course, is before she showed up in the show, of course, because Liz Shaw is the companion this season. So it's going to be interesting seeing Katie judging a Pertwee season, or the Pertwee season that's before she arrived, and seeing what she thinks of John and them and Liz and or Carolyn, I should say, and what she thinks of the more darker stories of this season. I'm really interesting to see what Katie thinks of this season. And I always enjoy when Matthew comes back. He seems to be fun on these. And then on another sofa, we have our TARDIS Team 5, or most of them anyway. We have Janet and Sarah. And then we have Sophie, of course, Ace. And then we have Toby. I'm kind of surprised we haven't had Peter in a while. I wonder if Peter Davison is busy, like if he has another job he's doing right now. He hasn't been on them as much lately. It's always nice to have Janet back. It's always good to have Sarah back. I always like having Sophie back. And Toby's always a lot of fun. Toby brings a lot of joy to everything he does. So that's going to be a really fun sofa. And then I love the fact that they got Carolyn John's family for this. Jeffrey Beavers, who, of course, is a Doctor Who alum himself. He was the Master and the Keeper of Traken. He also had a small role in Spearhead from Space. And, of course, he's done a lot of Big Finish. And Carolyn's daughter, Daisy Ashford, who, of course, voices Liz Shaw in some of the audios now, so she is also a Doctor Who alum. I'm going to love having them on the sofa for this as well. We have an In Conversation with John Levine, Sergeant Benton, which we did know was coming. It had been mentioned before that I think John had mentioned at a convention recently that he had an In Conversation coming on one of these. That's another reason I think we knew season 7 was coming so soon. We have the TARDIS Escape Room with TARDIS Team 3 this time. I don't really get into these. I'm not a big fan of the escape rooms. I haven't actually watched any of them, but that's just not something that grips me personally. I might watch this one just because it's Katie, and I absolutely love Katie, especially a nearly blind Katie Manning working in an escape room. That could be fun. I might watch this one just for that, but I'm usually not too big on the escape rooms. I do love the in conversations, so I'm looking forward to that one with John Levine. I still need to watch Living with Levine. I haven't done that yet. And then we have movie length omnibus versions of Silurians and Inferno. Now that's interesting because these weren't there aren't old school omnibus versions of these. I don't believe. This isn't like they're redoing omnibus versions that were done back in the day like they've done in the past. I don't think any season 7 story ever had an omnibus. So I think they're just kind of doing this in the spirit of the 70s omnibuses. Personally, I am really looking forward to the Silurians omnibus because Silurians tends to run a little long in the tooth for me anyway. Not necessarily very long in the tooth, but I would be excited to see an omnibus version of Silurians. Inferno, on the other hand, strikes me as odd. I don't think Inferno needs an omnibus version. I've talked many times in the past about how I think Inferno is expertly paced, perfectly paced. It is one of my favorite Doctor Who stories. It's top 10 Doctor Who for me. But I have never had a problem with it being 7 episodes. I think it fills out its runtime impeccably well. I don't think there's anything that needs to be cut. I feel like everything that's in Inferno works. Every little moment builds the tension and the character development. I don't think there's anything there that needs to be chopped out. Now, I'll probably watch the omnibus version of it for channel purposes, but I'll probably be watching it the whole time going, this is missing, this is missing, this is missing. Kind of like how the Ark in Space omnibus doesn't work. Now, I'm surprised we didn't get an Ambassadors of Death omnibus. You figured you would have had that over an Inferno one, maybe. Now, my last watch through of Ambassadors of Death did teach me that it's not as padded out as I thought. I used to think Ambassadors of Death could have been done in 4 parts and you'd been fine. His biggest problem is that it's too long. So I love the story for Ambassadors of Death. I don't necessarily think it needs that much cutting now. I still think you could do it in 6 parts. I still think it's a little padded out, but not as much as I used to think it was. But maybe there's just not enough to cut and still keep a coherent story for Ambassadors of Death, they felt. I don't know if I agree with that, but I would have gone with Ambassadors of Death as an omnibus over Inferno personally. So I'm kind of surprised they went that route. I'm also looking forward to the exclusive convention footage because a lot of times I tend to find the Panopticon archives and stuff. I tend to find that really fun. So that could be interesting. And that's really about it. A lot of carryovers from DVDs. And to be fair, the DVDs had a lot of stuff you might be expecting. Like DVDs have already done a tribute to Carol and John. And of course, they've already done, I believe, a contribute to John, like a tribute to John Pertwee. So a lot of those stuff, you're like, what about this? The DVD's already covered a lot of that. I believe they already have some kind of tribute to Robert Holmes as well. That'll show up on one of them, one of the box sets. So I'm sure a lot of the DVD documentaries, featurettes, and all that will cover some of the stuff that's missing. It does feel kind of like a light season. I will admit that when I'm looking over the bonuses, there's a part of me that's like, that seems kind of light compared to some of the box sets. However, while there's one part of my mind going, it seems a little on the light side, the other part of my mind is going, that's okay because most of the money probably went to the restoration work. And that is quite possibly why the extras, just at a glance, look a bit light. Because we know season 7 needed a lot of restoration work. Very little of season 7 is the original film elements or video master, with really the only original episodes being the 4 episodes of Spearhead from Space, which we know are the original film elements. They did retain those. And episode 1 of Ambassadors of Death, which is the original video masters. However, the other 6 episodes of Ambassadors of Death, all 7 episodes of Silurians, and all 7 episodes of Inferno are not the original video masters. They're recovered from other sources, and we know, especially with the rest of Ambassadors of Death and Silurians, the picture quality, especially the color quality, was always a bit poor on those. And we know that they needed heavy restoration. And I'm sure Inferno, despite the splendid restoration that was done for the special edition DVD, I'm sure they gave it a little more restoration work as well for the Blu-ray release. So I'm sure that a lot of the budget for this set rightfully went to the restoration of those episodes to get them looking as good as budget and technology will currently allow. And that is 100% the right choice. The most important parts of these box sets should always be the actual episodes and getting these episodes to look as good as they possibly can with the technology and the budget allowed. So for season 7, my main focus was always going to be getting these episodes to look as good as possible. That's exactly where I think the bulk of the money should have went. It's probably where a lot of the money did go. I'm sure this season kept Peter Crocker on his toes. I'm sure he was busy. So I'm willing to bet that that's one of the reasons why there's possibly not more features here. Plus the fact, as I mentioned, some of the features you might be looking for, the DVD range already covered. And those, of course, will be on this box set as well, as they tend to bring over all of the DVD extras as well, like all the making ofs and all that. I believe all 4 stories already had making of. So they'll be available as well, carried over from the DVD range. So while at a glance you could look at this and say that's a bit of a light bit of extras, I'm fine with it. I'm not surprised that no story has updated effects. I'm kind of surprised something doesn't have maybe a 5.1 surround. But again, with most of this story not existing, it's in most of these stories not existing in their original formats, I can understand why there's not a 5.1 surround sound. Because again, more of that money probably went to the restoration. And I agree with that. I'm okay with nothing having 5.1. I'm okay with nothing having updated effects. I've said, talking about season 7 many times on the channel, that I don't expect anything this season to have updated effects. I mentioned if I could have, had something like, just say for some reason there was budget left over, I would love to have had maybe Ambassadors of Death have updated effects. I think Ambassadors of Death could use some updated effects. But I'd always mention there, too, in those videos, that was a far secondary concern and that the main focus should be the restoration of the episodes. That's the route they seem to have gone with. That is the correct route for them to have taken. So I'm okay with none of the stories having updated effects. I don't really think Spearhead and Inferno needed them. Silurians, you could have done a few things, but I think it's fine. Ambassadors of Death, you could have done some stuff, but I think it's fine. So I'm actually quite content with everything we're getting. I think the main selling point of this is going to finally, for the first time, get versions of Silurians where the colors just don't look crap, and versions of Ambassadors where the colors just don't look crap. Nothing against the people who did those original restorations. They did the best with what they had, and I was happy to have them in color, just by comparison to the stuff we can do now. That I should say they looked rough. That Silurians and Ambassadors of Death have always looked a bit rough on home media. And to be able to get them looking a better quality for the first time. And then seeing what they've done with Inferno, I'm curious what more they could have done with Inferno. And to see even if they've done any more with Spearhead. And then, of course, Behind the Sofa is always a treat for me. I'm looking forward to that. I have the In Conversations with John Levine, the Looking Forward with Malcolm Holt, the tribute to Nicholas Courtney, and then all of the DVD stuff I might not have watched, like the tribute to Carol and John. I can't remember if I've ever seen that or not. Stuff like that. I'm really excited about this. It's one of my favorite seasons of Doctor Who. It's one of the best seasons of Doctor Who. I'm really fired up. I've already got my pre-order in. I'm very excited about it. And I'm already curious to find out what's going on, what we're going to get next. I'm curious what the next season will be. And I'm wondering if we will sometime, maybe in the next week, get some kind of trailer dropped for this, just so we can see what the restoration footage looks like. I want to know what you think of the official announcement and all of the extras and what you're kind of hoping for restoration-wise. Anything Season 7 related, comment down below, and let's talk about it. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button as well. I also have a Patreon. If you like what I do and want to support what I do, that does help me keep the bills paid, especially lately. I work 2 jobs, and one of my jobs the one I've actually been at for a long time, is giving me a lot of trouble lately. Brand new management team, full new management team. The new management team is nowhere near as good as the old management team. So if you want to support me on that, check that out. I also have a P.O. box as well. If there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review, I have a link to my Amazon wish list down there. A link to my Amazon UK wish list is also down there as well. I update those regularly. Check those out. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Colin Coney, Sam Venning, and Unknown289. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons and my YouTube members. It's very much appreciated. Most importantly, thank you for watching.